All right, at 6 o'clock, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting. Roll call, please.
Zamora.
Here.
Harmon.
Here.
Boutros. Larson.
Here.
Whitbeck.
Here.
All right, we do have a quorum. Any conflict of interest from any of the commissioners?
No.
Seeing none, moving on. There's no presentation, so that moves us to the consent calendar. I would entertain a motion to accept the consent calendar.
I make a motion.
Commissioner Harmon,
Second.
and second for Commissioner Larson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And I see people in the audience, and I love it, and welcome. But also just note that on the agenda, there are a couple items that staff is requesting for a continuance to a later date. So if you're here for those, likely they may be continued to a later date. That includes the Element Ridge. Let's see, that includes the Element Ridge subdivision and the Verbena Ranch. So those are going to likely be continued to a later date, but everyone's welcome to stay. Just want to make sure if you're here for those, to give you that up front. So with that, we'll continue with the agenda. There's no old business, so that moves us to new business and our opening statement. So this is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Caldwell Planning and Zoning Commission. We serve both in a decision-making capacity and an advisory capacity to the mayor and city council. There are two types of public hearings that this commission conducts. The first is a legislative hearing, whereby we formulate recommendations on certain land use requests. These recommendations are then forwarded to the city council, who makes a decision on these matters. The second type of hearing is quasi-judicial. These hearings involve the consideration of a land use request, such as an annexation, rezone, classification, or approval of a subdivision preliminary plat. The public hearing procedures as required by Idaho law or Idaho code are as follows. Oral and written testimony will be accepted from those who have signed in to speak prior to the hearing being declared open. When providing testimony, please come to the podium, state your name and address, which will be included into the record. Staff will first present a report regarding the application being considered. This is followed by a public testimony which begins with the applicant or the applicant's representative, who will present a summary of the request for no more than 10 minutes. The testimony of those in support will be taken, followed by those in a neutral position, and finally those in opposition to the request, all of which will be 5 minutes or less. The applicant will then be offered an opportunity to provide a rebuttal. After the rebuttal testimony is given, the public testimony portion of the public hearing will be closed, and no new oral written testimony will be allowed. And so with that, I will move on to action item 1. I'll declare this hearing open. This is case number ANN 24-7, CPM 24-2, SUB 24-34, and SUP 24-14. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Commissioners. Katie Wright, Associate Planner, 205 South 6th Avenue. Before you tonight is Mason Creek Commons, ANN 2407, CPM 2402, SUB 2434, and SUP 2414. There is a lit exhibit that should be in front of all the commissioners. That's just a landscape plan that shows some of the items that were conditioned. The project location is 13.08 acre parcel located on the northwest corner of Middleton Road and Highway 2026. The site has frontage along both Highway 2026 and Middleton Road. The project site is currently surrounded by single-family residential to the north, south, and west, and commercial to the east and south, and undeveloped land to the east. There are 5 developments within a 1-mile radius of the subject site that are either actively under construction or have been approved for entitlements. There's 2.71 acres of commercial development to the south of this development. Midland Meadows, located northeast of the site, is a residential development approved for 242 single-family homes. Valencia Village, located southeast of this site, which is a mixed-use development, approved for 26 single-family homes, 94 townhomes, 240 multifamily units, and 26 commercial acres. Escalon Park is located southeast of the site, is a mixed-use development approved for 240 single-family homes, 192 multifamily units, and 24.83 acres of commercial. And then Traverse Creek, located northwest of the site, is a residential development approved for 265 single-family homes and 14 townhomes. The applications before you tonight are all for the parcel outlined in red, an annexation of 13.08 acres of land into the city of Caldwell limits with the initial zoning of C3, an amendment to the city's comprehensive plan future land use map from highway corridor to commercial service, a preliminary plat for a commercial subdivision, and a special use permit to allow for traditional mini storage in the C3 zone. Tonight's request consists of the applicant's proposal for an annexation with service commercial zoning designation. The purpose of this C3 zone is to provide areas by zoning procedures in accordance with the comprehensive plan that provides suitable areas where activities of a service nature which are more intensive in character than in other commercial zones and which may be semi-industrial in character may be carried out in conjunction with the policy of the comprehensive plan. And the proposed development is surrounded by highway corridor to the east and south, low-density residential to the northwest and south, service commercial to the south and west, and county zoning to the east. Staff finds the service commercial is a compatible zoning district along Highway 2026. Highway corridor and C2 are already along the north and south of Highway 2026 and surrounding areas, making C3 compatible. The proposed comp plan designation and development as commercial service is consistent with the intent of the comprehensive plan. The proposed land uses are permitted within the zoning district. A special use permit has been applied for to allow for traditional mini storage within the C3 zone for this development. The applicant is proposing a development consisting of 13.08 acres of commercial, approximately 3.78 of those acres being the storage. The remainder of the uses are proposed as car-oriented uses with drive-throughs such as convenient gas stations, drive-through restaurants, banks, etc. The proposed development project has been analyzed for compliance with city codes and policies, and staff finds the proposed development is in compliance with landscaping requirements, bulk standards for lot size, setbacks, frontage, and height of buildings, and the proposed development is also in compliance with all zoning and subdivision ordinances. The specific land uses will be reviewed at the time of building permits for substantial parking. The proposed development will have adequate site access and all utilities are available or will be available as outlined in the engineering staff report. Public agencies were notified and asked to provide comments and no agencies had concerns. We received one public comment, written comment from Stacy Burns. I apologize if that was incorrect. This letter is in opposition of the development and states the city should consider the damage done to Mason Creek embankment prior to the approval of the annexation. Staff has reviewed a landscape plan, which is that late exhibit that was submitted, and it has addressed some of the conditions. Therefore, staff recommends that the following specifications be removed as they have been met. Prior to City Council, the applicant shall provide an updated landscape plan with the following: required landscaping along Highway 2026, a 15-foot land use buffer along the west side of the property, the sidewalk along Middleton Road continuing north to the access and continuing to connect to the existing sidewalk, and the widths to be shown for the 15-foot buffer, the 30 feet street landscape buffer along Highway 2026, and the 25-foot landscape buffer along Middleton Road. And staff also recommends that the condition requesting the development agreement be signed and notarized, as it's not specifically applying to this annexation. There won't be a development agreement. Staff also will recommend that the remaining site-specific conditions, that they do remain as follows. Number one, the commercial uses shall adhere to the land use schedule in the time of the development. 2, at the time of business permit, parking will be verified per use. 3, at time of building permit, the storage units, color, and materials, minimum of 2, shall be approved by staff. The applicant shall provide sidewalk or other pedestrian connectivity through the site between the storage use and the other commercial uses in lieu of providing a pathway along the canal at the north edge of the property. If the property to the west develops in the future, they shall be allowed to connect a pedestrian path into the subject site pathway sidewalk system, and any building immediately adjacent to the single-family home shall be no taller than 25 feet in height to the midpoint. Staff recommends that if the commission approves and recommends approval that such request is subject to the conditions as specified in the findings of facts, conclusions of law, and order of decision. And I stand for any questions.
Thank you. We'll ask the applicant to come up and provide that, and then we'll hold our questions till, after that presentation. So Chad Jones, if you'd like to come up, please state your name and address into the record.
Sure. Chad Jones, 1119 East State Street, Eagle, Idaho, ALC Architecture, as a representative. So Mason Creek Commons, by the way, Katie did a fantastic job giving a really very good summary of what this project really is. And as she has stated, it's 13 acres, 13.08 acres. This is absolutely needed for this area. As you can see, all the development that's happening to the southeast and particularly to the north, with the infrastructure that's been put in place, extending sewer, water, roadway with ITD in that project, and what we're bringing in is going to help with the connectivity as well as the services for the people around in those residential communities for self-storage, banking, other types of things. If it's a tire store, it's a tire store, but those are the type of uses that we're planning on putting in there. Things that service the communities that live in that space. The comprehensive plan was pretty clear. We tried to stay with it. We worked with staff pretty hard with trying to find something that made sense. And commercial and the C3 zone kind of made sense with what's happening with this gateway into the city of Caldwell. So that's kind of where we went with that. Part of the improvements on this corner are going to be a turn lane right in, right out off of Middleton Road, and also off of Highway 2026 heading west into the city, which is fairly important to help with that traffic flow and keep safety, and safety is a concern with this as well. City water sewer is in place to the site. We are rapidly at work already in anticipation that you folks are in approval, expecting to get this thing going hopefully within the next 90, 120 days at the most. To start those on-site improvements, landscaping, entrances, those type of things, getting it ready for the storage units and the first elements of the business flex components in preparation for the other stuff that's going to be happening on that site. So rapidly moving forward with that. I want to address what's happening along Mason Creek. And Mason Creek, as you know, is kind of a funny thing, right? When you get next to canals and creeks and stuff like that. You definitely don't want to damage landscape or do anything on the embankments and those type of things. That's been repaired. And one of the big things that we're trying to do with this development is bring back that landscape aesthetic back to the site, repair it. It's been repaired, we're going to add to it to help that visual non-impact from those residential communities to the north. We definitely understand that. We try to keep pretty good care in bringing some of those landscape elements back. Grasses and trees and those type of things to help that stabilization. So we've added that to the plan. We've added the additional buffering to the plan, and I haven't actually done anything on my presentation at all. I'm just up here talking. I want to go to this site, this right there, and you can kind of see up along Mason Creek what we're doing with the addition of a variety of different trees that live well together to actually help that stabilization and that visual impact. We feel like this is going to be an add to the communities as they grow to the north and to the east as you're coming up that Milton Road corridor. as well as to the west. We've added that 15-foot buffer that I'm gonna go back a little bit. As you can kind of see along what's now an agricultural area, but that will develop into probably likely more residential. So we've kind of looked at that and, keeping that in mind, how that's going to feel to those guys as they develop and how that connectivity is going to happen. And I wish I had a pointer I'd show you, but we have added a sidewalk for the future connectivity along that central pathway through the site, connecting it back to 2026. Likely will continue into the site more as we develop the site, as those plans go forward. To help that foot traffic from that residential area and off the main highway corridor travel better. So we've kind of taken that to heart, and we've added it. The landscaping as we go forward, you're giving the back? Oh, right. There. Right in here's a sidewalk that comes. This one right here? So if you guys can see, we've added a slight little sidewalk that connects right here for the future and back down to 2026 to help that pedestrian flow through this, what's gonna be eventually, likely, people living there.
It's gonna be developed,
Yeah, and it's really important for these guys to be able to get in and out of this site safely. We've purposely kept the pathway off of this right in here for two reasons. One, the irrigation district kind of doesn't want a path back there, but also for safety and for aesthetic. And those are the two big reasons. I mean, they're probably not real big, but they're kind of important. I don't know what else to say other than I'm gonna go right here so you can kind of see this exhibit here where and I'm gonna point right here, sorry, Jeff. There's that existing Mason Creek Bridge right here. We're gonna extend that sidewalk from there across that bridge to make that connectivity safely for the pedestrians, across that bridge, so they can walk their dogs or whatever they want to do, or whoever else, without the fear of getting hit, for no better term. We've been working pretty closely with staff, trying to understand all the things that the city needs, wants. We're gonna do those things. I don't know what else I need to add to this other than what Katie's add, so I'll stand for question.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jones. At this time, commissioners' questions for applicant or staff?
Yeah, a quick question for the applicant, Chair.
Commissioner Larson.
Did you guys have people who are planning on being in these developments? Have you talked to businesses? You don't have to give their names if you guys don't want to, for the future options of these businesses for restaurant, banks, and so on and so forth?
We have, and as you understand, I mean, we can't really, divulge any of that really. I mean, it's contingent upon this becoming a real project,
Sure.
right? So, yes, we have.
Okay, thank you.
Question, maybe for the applicant, but for staff, on page 5 of the engineering report, notes currently the city of Caldwell does not have capacity with the existing sanitary sewer system to serve this project. I've never seen that in one of these reports. I'd love just some information about that and how that would impact, and I guess for the applicant, how that would impact them moving forward.
Sure, Mr. Commissioner, that is a very good question. This site here, I know that staff has been working with the applicant on this. This site all funnels into a lift station that was not designed originally to be online this long of a period. And so That lift station is reaching capacity. We do have a project scheduled this year. In fact, we're already working on applications to replace the force main for that lift station. That's going to give additional capacity, and so we're hoping that that project happens. It's supposed to happen this year, and we have other developers that are also pushing on this project and participating because they want it to happen as well. And so that would alleviate this concern, but because it is a concern today, that's the reason why we have to put the note in there.
Sure.
If the development wants to continue and start working on site improvements, they're certainly welcome to do that. There's no reason why they couldn't do that. We just can't allow any discharge until we have that situation figured out. But we do have a plan moving forward. So I would recommend that the applicant continue to work with staff to understand better what that time frame is.
Thank you. And for the applicant, you understand and you're okay with that?
Absolutely. Actually, we have a meeting with you folks tomorrow morning at 9:30 to talk about all of that stuff. So we've been pretty heavily engaged in working with the city with all of these concerns.
Thank you. Other questions from commissioners?
Just a clarification, what was the nature of damage to Mason Creek and what was done to correct that?
You know, there was some vegetation that was, for better terms, starved or removed, damaged. So that has been remediated and repaired. And we are going to be adding more to that as this development goes forward to help enhance it. That was, I believe that was part of an agreement with the Mason Creek folks. I don't recall what district that was, but yeah, that's been done.
Okay, thank you.
My one other question is, because something that I'm trying to reconcile is when I look at the map and the various zoning, it kind of stands out. It's not necessarily, you have 2026 that connects it to the next commercial site, but it's kind of by itself, were we to make a recommendation for annexation. I guess my question is, changing it to your proposed zoning from highway corridor, what opportunities does that offer y'all in regards to businesses that can come to that area?
Well, this site was never really intended to be a big box store. It wasn't intended to be, you know, a destination of that sort. You know, zoning it to the zone we're requesting allows us to go into a special use for that self-storage. For all intents and purposes, it's kind of a back anchor to the site, and that's really what we're trying to do there. We're not trying to go, you know, big box or industrial or anything like that. If we left it as highway corridor, that would be more of a suitable use, but that's not what we're trying to go for, if that makes sense.
I think so. I don't know if staff have any additional, I guess my question is, and I'm looking at this map here, so if this zoned area that's in red, it's gonna stand out. It's not congruent to the rest of it. You do have it across the street, but 2026 is not connecting. So I'm just trying to, like, why this, or I don't know, staff, if you have any insight to the parcel to the west of that, is that planning on come to a hearing body to change, or, I don't know, I'm just trying to reconcile making this make sense.
Yes, Chairman. C3 really just essentially allows for more land uses, kind of specifically targeting what they're wanting to do with more car-oriented uses, things like that. It does allow a little bit more flexibility. For some other examples, sorry, I'm just looking at a few different items on here. The storage, I believe, for highway corridor is not permitted. They wouldn't have been able to apply for a special use permit, and that is kind of what they're orienting this project on. So to my understanding, that's kind of where they were going with that, to rezone it or to come in with that zone and change the comp plan designation to that commercial service rather than the highway corridor. C3 does also allow for a lot of those drive-through uses that they seem like they're wanting for this project.
And highway corridor does not.
Highway corridor does allow some of those drive-through uses as well, but I want to say that it's the storage that was the main driver for this.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Harmon.
For staff, isn't the property to the west of Middleton, isn't that a tire place going in too?
To the south, it's the 208
south,
tire.
yeah,
They, I believe,
okay.
came through as well.
Okay,
And then to the west or to the east is that gas station that's over
Yeah.
there.
okay. My other question is, for staff, is this meets the comp plan and the vision that you guys are seeing 2026 going, correct? And I don't mean the new comp plan that's not approved yet. I just mean right now.
My apologies,
No,
Chairman
that's okay. I
Commissioner.
kind of made it sound like that's what I was looking at.
It does meet the intent of, honestly, the highway corridor is kind of for those car-oriented uses, things to be seen from the highway for people to stop on their way in and out of Caldwell. So it would meet the intent.
Perfect. Thank you.
Other questions? All right, thank you. So we have a couple individuals signed up. In neutral, Stacy, is it pronounced Byrne? I think that's what I heard Katie pronounce it. Signed up to speak. Would you like to come up and speak? Name and address to the record, and then you'll have up to 5 minutes.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. My name is Stacy Behrens. That's how it's pronounced. Just a quick background on this, and
Address too, please, into the record.
I want to just kind of explain to you why I'm here.
Real quick, address also into the record.
11081 Red Mountain Street.
Perfect.
We are right to the north of the Mason Creek. Mason Creek is one of the reasons why my wife and I moved here from Twin Falls. We retired and moved to this new subdivision of Mason Creek. Had this nice creek behind us with a floodplain and lots of trees, and we back up right to that Mason Creek. And it is a creek. It's not a canal, even though it is part of the canal district. It's a creek, it's a water protected area. And so we liked that area and we moved there. And that was in January of 22. And then on September 19th of 2022, we were home and the developer's contractors started knocking down these trees. And when they say a small amount of vegetation, we're talking about trees that are up to, there was one that was up to like a 6-foot diameter tree. We're talking about 100-year-old trees in the floodplain. And they started knocking them down in the morning. And by the time I got a hold of anybody that would respond to me, it was Ashley Newberia, the floodplain manager of City of Caldwell. She came out to the site and got the contractor to stop knocking down trees. They had knocked down several, starting at Middleton Road and moving their way towards the west. So there had been at least 3 of them gone by the time I got them to stop. And at that point, I talked to Cass Jones of the Department of Water Resources. I talked to Stephanie Haley multiple times from the county. She's now moved on to a different position, but she was wonderful about information and telling me who to contact and what to do to make sure that something would happen. And my request, it said I was in opposition of this development, and I'm not sure we're really totally in opposition of this development. That's not really for us as homeowners to necessarily say. My concern is the reparations of the floodplain. As was stated earlier, they made an attempt to do some reparations this summer. So this has been an ongoing process for 2 years. I've been in contact with all these folks for over 2 years about different You know, when are they gonna do something? What are they planning on doing? I got an email from Stephanie Haley a year ago. If I could read this real quickly to you. It says, I asked her what was going to be planned for the reparations of the landscapings. We're talking 3 or 4 trees that were like huge, 6 foot, plus all the vegetation along the creek. And her response was, the county has been in communication with the property owner over the violation and requirements for compliance. It is an ongoing code enforcement case, and most information is not public, so she wasn't able to tell me exactly what they were planning on doing. But she says the property owner will be working with the Idaho Department of Water Resources, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the county for compliance. And the violation will continue until all agencies deem the repairs are satisfactory. So I'm assuming by the fact that we're here is at some point that the county checked off that they were satisfactory. Now, what is not true is that the reparations or the repairs to the floodplain have been successfully completed. I sent you a packet early from last week with pictures. So we're talking about an area, and I don't know if you could, that one picture that looked like this, that had all the landscaping, is that possible to put that one back up?
It looks like you might be trying.
It was page 28 of the packet, or at least it was. The one that had the trees on it and the landscaping? It's okay.
Yeah, so that's your 5 minute. We'll give you, while we pull it up, we'll give you an extra 30, 45 seconds to kind of wrap up once we pull it up here. Right there.
Yeah.
So we'll give you an extra 30 or 45 seconds.
Okay, I'll try to be as quick as possible, but I'm not sure what this boxed area is on the case. There's trees along that whole boxed area, but I'm assuming that that's the area that they're saying that they repaired. And I guess to sum this all up, my request would be that, and I don't know if there's a pause that could be asked for to make sure that this reparations get done, but I showed you the pictures of everything that they put in there. To replace 3 or 4 huge trees, they put in 4 trees that were about 1.5 inch trees and about 30 bushes or so. Every one of them lasted about a month or month and a half. The first few days they didn't water at all, then they put a sprinkler system in to water, and then they quit watering altogether, and every bush and tree that they put in that area has since died. And now the weeds are coming back, and the poison hemlock is coming back, and the reparations are not complete. So what we as homeowners would like is just to make sure that they are required to fully repair that area with and I know you can't have to a 100-year-old tree, but you can have much more than they attempted to do unsuccessfully.
Thank you. That's your time.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We also have Scott West, who signed up in neutral position, but marked not wanting to speak. Let's see, and I have no one signed up either in favor or opposition, so at this time, I would invite the applicant come up to approach and provide any rebuttal testimony that they would like.
Thank you, Commissioners. I unfortunately did not get this photo or this into my presentation. If you wouldn't mind, I would like to, I'll point this out first on that screen. I'm not sure what happened here.
He's pulling it up.
Got it? All right. sorry about that. Right here, that little area right there is what you're talking about right here.
Yes.
Right here. This is the plan, if you wouldn't mind me approaching it, and I can send this. And that's from the Department of Water Resources, that's a plan to keep right around.
So just for the record, he's showing us a landscape design that he's stating has been approved by the, what agency?
I believe that's the Department of Water Resources.
Department of Water Resources.
Works with the Corps of Engineers and those folks that work within that chain of command.
And so what is there is what's actually filling that kind of blank spot that you pointed out a few moments ago?
That's correct. Or is that, this is.
That's not what's there currently, it's what's you're intending to be, to put up?
That is correct. That's what's intending to be there.
Okay.
So some of it has been planted, some of it's died. What's died, we're gonna replace, repair, bring back to the way that plan is supposed to be. So the plan that I presented to you folks is the plan that's gonna be there, water maintained, hopefully to take care of the issue that we have there, right? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, it's really not our intent to, I mean, for somebody to come in and just, you know, take stuff out, we're not gonna say, well, we're not gonna put it back. We are. We're putting it back, and we have put a portion of it back, and we're gonna remain putting it back until it's repaired to the plan that's been approved.
Thank you. Anything else you would like to add?
I don't know if I need to say anything more than that.
Commissioners, any final questions before we? No? All right, thank you. All right, so we're at the point of the process where I would entertain a motion to close public testimony.
So moved.
Commissioner Larson and and a second for Commissioner Whitbeck. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we've closed public testimony. Now it's the time for us as commissioners to deliberate. Commissioner Harmon.
It sounds like the Mason Creek is probably the biggest concern of this whole thing. And I would just say we put in a, what am I trying to say?
A condition.
A condition that gets done before anything can be finalized, or
It would be already
I
in
know
that
it can't
plan,
be done
right?
before it starts probably,
It's
but
approved.
Planning and Zoning, Morgan Bisa. Yeah, just a little bit more information. So there was a code enforcement issue there because of that vegetation removal, and it went through the county, not the city, because it wasn't annexed yet. Katie, or the planner, did work with the county and determined that that code enforcement case was determined to be closed by the county, that they thought the issue had been resolved. And they submitted a letter recommending that this plan be approved. And there are specific conditions in the staff report already drafted from the city's engineers regarding all of our floodplain requirements, and any landscaping that is identified on the existing landscaping plan would be required to be there before staff would sign off on that. I think you'd only need to add a condition if you wanted to increase, you know, the landscaping from what they're proposing, you know, add some more or something, go beyond what is in the plan.
okay, yeah, thanks for that clarification.
So just to recap, and we're all on the same page, so the remediation that was being addressed exists currently, but were we to recommend this, they exist in the condition and the various recommendations?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, I'm getting nods.
Besides that, I'm good.
Okay, other comments from commissioners?
It seems to be consistent with that intersection. It's going to be commercial development.
My one hang up, and I'm still, just personally, just kind of on the continuity of that with the appropriate buffers, is the recommendation is to change it to commercial and service for a storage unit, when some of the other things that sounds like that are being proposed can exist in a highway corridor. And I struggle with the way that just creates, it breaks up the zoning, and now we have a little section that's it's gonna be zoned highway corridor. Sure, it's near, but it's Highway 2026, you're not walking across, those are kind of two distinct areas. So I struggle with that continuity of that, and for me, as we're thinking of wise planning, things have to be connected and things have to make sense, and there has to be appropriate flow, and I don't see that, and I struggle with that reason that we're doing this is for a storage unit, right? Because there's some of those other commercial businesses which are indeed needed in this area, like, I get that, but it sounds like those can exist in highway corridor as is. So because of that, I'm not in favor of this. Other thoughts, comments?
No, yeah, that makes sense, though. So,
Yeah, I guess the only thought is I'm wanting the rest of it, so I'm willing to kind of accept the good with the bad. So I do not want more storage units, but I want the other options more, so that's why I'm leaning towards yes, because I feel like those other businesses are more needed, even though, I don't know, we have a lot of storage units in Caldwell, it seems. So, but I think the other businesses are needed, so that's why I'm leaning towards yes.
Well, and just in response to that, I guess my point is, and what I understood, is that those other businesses can exist in highway
Yeah.
corridor already. So
Yeah.
I don't think that we need to change zoning to get those businesses. And I get, like, the developers, it is their prerogative to want to put what they want to put in their space. And I think as a commission, our job is to just make individual decisions and vote, but around what's most sound, and I don't think breaking it up like that is sound. Sorry, public testimony is closed at this point. Other comments from commissioners?
no.
All right, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Larson.
I have to find it here.
Yeah, it's small. Oh. It's right here.
Yeah, gotcha.
In the small
Okay,
letters.
based upon the testimony of evidence and evidence, based on the testimony, evidence in record in this matter, and upon the finding of facts and conclusions of the law set forth herein, do hereby recommend and move as follows: the request for a comprehensive plan amendment for parcel R3409000000 to designate the parcel as service commercial annexation and a zone designation of C3 commercial service, with a development agreement and preliminary plat and special use permit upon approval for Mason Creek Commons commercial subdivisions to include traditional mini storage is recommended for approval, subject to the additions of approval as presented or amended.
All right, there's a motion for Commissioner Larson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Whitbeck. Roll call, please.
Larson,
Yes.
Whitbeck,
Yes.
Zamora,
No.
Harmon.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes. And we will move on our agenda. Just get back on the right page.
Chairman, Commissioners, sorry, just to clarify, there is a recommendation for approval for the annexation, the comp plan amendment, and the SUB, but the special use permit would be either approved or denied by the commission.
That is,
I apologize, there was probably an error on the motions that we provided you this evening, so
so I think that one was to approve the annexation.
that was for the recommendation. So the next one would be for the either approval or denial of the special use permit.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion for, do we need it worded specifically, or just a motion to approve the special use permit as presented? I would entertain a motion. Commissioner Harmon? Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Whitbeck? This would also be a roll call vote.
Harmon.
Yes.
Whitbeck.
Yes.
Zamora.
No.
Larson.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Thank you for that clarity. All right, moving on with the agenda. Action item 2. There is a request for a continuance date search in a January 8th, 2025 for this case, for this item. So I would entertain a motion from a commissioner if they're willing to make a motion for that.
I make a motion to move that.
Second.
All right, that was Commissioner Harmon and Commissioner Larson as the second. Specifically, this is case number ANN 24-13, SPP 24-2. Any discussion?
No.
Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so that's continued to January 25th. In regards to the next item, case number ANN 24-6, SUB 24-22, SUB 24-23, SUB 24-24, SUB 24-25, SUB 24-26, SUB 24-27, and PUD 24-4. There's a recommendation from, a request from staff to continue this to December 11th, 2024. Is anybody willing to make that motion?
I make a motion to move that.
Commissioner Harmon made that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second for Commissioner Whitbeck. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Which takes us to action item 4, review proposed urban renewal plan for conformity with the comprehensive plan of the city of Caldwell. And I think Mr. Waterman is providing that report, correct? All right.
Good evening, Commissioners. What you have before you tonight is a statutory requirement when a city is considering a new urban renewal plan or plan area. Yeah, if you could zoom in on that, there we go. A necessary step before the final hearing on urban renewal plan is a review by the Planning Commission for conformity of the urban renewal plan with the general plan of development of the city, which is to say the comprehensive plan. So what you have in your packet is the current proposed plan, and the action item document is essentially a review of the comprehensive plan, objective by objective, to determine, for you to determine whether or not the proposed plan generally conforms or not to the comp plan. This urban renewal plan is a site-specific one. I don't recall, maybe all of you were on the commission a couple years ago when we reviewed the large plan out to the northwest of Caldwell. This is exactly like that and also nothing like it. This plan encompasses a very small area, a matter of just 4 or 5 lots, just across the street, across Kimball from the plaza. So the property there is owned in part, one parcel is owned by the agency itself, and a couple others are owned by private individuals. The agency attempted to get that property developed during the term of the original Caldwell Urban Renewal Plan, which is of course sunset since then, but it did not develop. The agency was unable to get that accomplished, and so the plan sunset, and their desire to continue to have that property move towards development and be a benefit to downtown, and the appropriate framework in which to do that is an urban renewal plan. It's not appropriate for the agency just to engage in requests for proposals for a piece of property unless they have a plan in place for it. So that's what this plan is. It's site specific. It's just for theoretically one development, maybe 2. The agency will have control over who is awarded an RFP, and it would be anticipated that it would be commercial in some nature. That ultimately would be the agency's decision. the anticipated revenue from a project, if a project were to go in, based on the feasibility study, in the context of urban renewal, is a relatively small dollar figure. It's a large dollar figure for me or you, but I believe around $300,000, and it's anticipated that revenue will be spent on improving some underground infrastructure, some power improvements there. And that will essentially be the whole scope of what the agency does in terms of actual revenue expended out of the plan. So that's the sort of 30,000 foot view, and because of the size of the plan, you get pretty good definition of 30,000 feet. It doesn't change the picture a whole lot by zooming in. Other things to note: the agency is of course on board with the plan, and the other property owners who hold property that's within the boundary there, they are also in favor of the plan. In terms of actual property owners, there's no objections from anybody not wanting to be included, which is always a good thing. I think the hope is to, once the plan is adopted, if it is adopted in December, to get request for proposals out early in the year next year, and hopefully get it on its way to being a local business and get it disposed of, and let someone operate in downtown Caldwell and make downtown a better place, or continue to make it an even better place than it already is. So the Idaho code that governs urban renewal is in Title 50. It's chapters 20 and 29. They don't provide a great deal of they don't really elucidate what it is for the commission here to review the proposed plan for conformity. And so not dissimilar from last time, my approach then is, okay, well, we'll just look at the comp plan and go item by item. So I will go through these with a relatively, I'll try to go relatively quickly without skipping over anything, and then we'll stand for questions. But by virtue of the size of this plan, if there's a comprehensive plan goal of providing parks, well, this particular site is not a park site, and so whether or not the proposed plan conforms or does not conform is sort of a difficult question, because it simply doesn't get at the issue of parks, right? So it did present some difficulty in terms of putting together the staff report, which is the first document you have in your packet, that the scope of the project just does not touch all that much. But we'll go through here what we have and go from there. So in terms of economic, this is in terms of property rights, the urban renewal law is well laid out in terms of making sure that people's private property rights are protected. There are also lots of state codes that prohibit property from being taken for somebody for inappropriate purposes, and the agency has a good track record of working with people who own property to make sure that their property rights are respected. In this circumstance, the agency holds about half the property, and like I said, about half of it is held by private persons. And so both the urban renewal law and the general state law applicable do a good job of making sure there are sideboards on the agency's ability to impinge on somebody's property rights. And again, like I mentioned, the property owners here are on board with the plan, and so that is a good thing. In terms of population, it's not anticipated at this point this will have any effect on population. At one point, there was a project proposed here that did have some apartments. I don't believe that at this point there's been no RFP. I don't know if that's still a potential, but if it were, the population impact would potentially be on the neighbor of maybe 10 to 15 units, so it would be minimal either way. School and facilities transportation, like I said, the funding the plan has available to it, the actual improvements the agency will be doing will be primarily to underground power facilities in that area and in the alleyway. There are some streetscape improvements that the project owner would need to do, but they likely would not have a large impact on transportation. The sidewalks in that area are already readily traversable, as is the roadway. Goal number 4 is economic development. Obviously, that parcel has had a hard time getting actual shovels in the ground, and so it's anticipated that having a plan, having the framework for another RFP will hopefully kickstart that, and we can get that property developed. In terms of land use, the agency doesn't have any concurrent application to change the zone. I'd have to pull up to see what the exact zone is. My recollection is though it's concurrent with the zoning around it, the downtown zone there. And so the use would be concurrent with that as well. Certainly if an applicant had an RFP and wanted to change the zoning, that application would have to come before you, before it was adopted. But the plan anticipates relying, as all plans do, on the land use map, future land use map, transportation map of the city of Caldwell, and relying on this body and the city council to hear and consider any sort of amendment to any of those. For natural resources, stormwater and runoff regulations are going to apply. I guess maybe if you dug far enough, you'd bump into a natural resource down there somewhere, but that's not the anticipated ultimate use of the property. So it does not really impact the comprehensive plan. In that regard, it's not designated as a hazardous area. I don't know if a Phase 1 environmental has been done on the property. I'm not aware of any use in the past that would be something that would have the potential to have a petroleum spill or anything like that. I believe the property is just clean dirt. But certainly if there is some hazardous substance there, that would be remediated in the way it's supposed to be. And the land use applicable to the property would prohibit it from being put to any sort of hazardous use, waste facility, things like that. Like I said, for goal 8 for public services, facilities, and utilities, that is the primary actual expenditure the plan contemplates, which is the improvement of some underground power facilities. So certainly that goal will be served by the plan. In terms of the actual layout and construction, the agency would be relying, because of the developments in the city, on the city engineering department for all those standards. In terms of transportation, the goal of transportation, like I said, there's no roadway through here or improvement through here. There's an alleyway, but it's not a thoroughfare. It's primarily used as a common alleyway would be for utilities and some backdoor access, emergency access, things like that. I don't know if it will be a requisite on a developer to improve the alleyway itself, the surface, or the aesthetics. Like I said, there will be funds expended on underground utilities that will impact the alleyway, but should essentially have no negative or significant positive impact on transportation. And to the extent there is an impact, it'll be a marginal one, improving the right-of-way. In terms of the goal of recreation, again, like I mentioned earlier, there's no park anticipated here. It's not anticipated that it'll be put to a public use. It'll be a private user who comes in and constructs a business and operates it. So to the extent that private businesses in the downtown, of course, offer recreational activities and opportunities for people who are down there, that will be served in that way, but it wouldn't be a park or a splash pad or something like that. That objective is already being served well by the plaza next door. There's no special area of historic concern in the area, so there's no impact there. Like I said, as far as I know, it's not anticipated that a proposal would have a housing component, but if it did, that would be minimal. The comprehensive plan certainly talks about the goal of providing a variety of housing types, and the housing that has developed in downtown is certainly sort of broadens the varieties of housing offered. So if housing is developed at the site, it would serve that purpose as well. In terms of design standards, the goal 13 again, the agency would rely on the city code that already exists, the planning and zoning, the design review committee, things like that, to ensure that whatever was proposed met the design standards. And of course, again, the agency has final approval on those matters, and so whatever was proposed would come before the agency for review as well. In terms of goal 4, public safety, not anticipated that this would have a significant negative impact or positive impact in the same way that the other businesses downtown, generally don't have a measurable public safety draw unit by unit, and generally commercial structures are required to be sprinkled, and it's in a well-lit area. There's good traffic control down there, so don't anticipate that would be an issue either. And then the final objective is to develop the city center, and this is certainly squarely a benefit to that. So at this point, I'll stand for any questions. What I've done is enumerate all the comprehensive plan goals. If you have anything that you would like to propose as a change to better meet a goal, I'll be happy to hear that, and we can write that into the order of decision. But hopefully that was clear enough, and I apologize, it's a little repetitive, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Waterman. Any questions for Mr. Waterman from commissioners? Commissioner Larson.
I had a question for staff. Morgan, do you guys know what the zoning is of that exact spot? Or can someone pull up GIS and show us what it is?
Yes, I believe it's all downtown, is the downtown core.
And there's commissioners, one of the attachments to the plan is the zoning map. Let's see if I can find it here. It's on page 125, and it's the zoning map for the city. And so
it's technically city center. It's inside that small area highlighted in pink within the area highlighted in blue on the map in front of you, the very small area.
I don't know if there's an ability to zoom in or not, but anyway, it's in your packet, and to the extent that that should be more readily navigable than the overhead potentially. So,
Gotcha. So I guess what use types are considered under? You said city center is the zoning.
mm-hmm.
Is it basically anything commercial? I guess I'm just wanting clarification on if the apartments are approved in that type, or they'd have to get a special use permit.
Let me pull up our code, 1 second.
Commissioners, I'm pulling up the land use table also, but likely Morgan will beat me to it.
It'll be a race. This section of our code is actually challenging. So it is in Chapter 10, Article 12. And so our code talks about a central business district as well as a city center zoning district. However, we only have one land use table for the two. So even though there's sort of two separate zones, we have one land use table. It looks like uses that are directly permitted include art studio, art and entertainment, civic organizations. Let's see if I can find dwelling, because that's what you were talking about.
It looks like, commissioners, that they
Directly permitted.
directly permitted are 4, 5, and 6 family, multifamily, single family detached, 3-family triplex, townhouses. Those are the categories that are permitted.
Yeah, townhouse directly permitted. And multifamily for us is 7 or more units currently in code. So 4, 5, 6, or 7 plus would all be directly permitted. Single family detached, 3
So if
triplex.
oh, my apologies.
Yep, sorry.
So commissioners, if there was a proposal that was solely permitted, then in that circumstance, the agency, unlike a typical privately held property that when annexed and zoned is then permitted to do those things permitted without additional review, in this circumstance, the agency as the landowner engages in discussions and negotiations with the person proposing about their project. So it would not, if it is permitted, it would not come back before the city or the Planning and Zoning Commission. It would be up to the agency to essentially review it. It's not a special use permit application, it's just a contract negotiation essentially. And so the prior, I assume that the land use table has not changed, nor has the zoning, since the prior proposed project sort of petered out. And I know that the agency was very keyed in on the aesthetics and decisions that went into that residential development, and did not take lightly the desire to have it be compatible with both practically and aesthetically with the remainder of downtown.
Thank you.
Other questions from commissioners? All right. No other questions, Mr. Waterman?
Thank you.
Will you guide us through the next steps? Do we have to make motions on each one of the areas? Is that going to do them in block?
Yes, so they are, it's the final 3 pages of what amounts to the staff report. And I enumerated them out specifically so that they could be commented on if you desired. But a motion, if you wish to call some out specifically, I can assist with that. If you wish to simply recommend that it does conform or does not conform, then you could use the language there in Roman numeral 5 and just move that the commission find that based on the comprehensive plan analysis and review of the proposed Caldwell North Urban Renewal Area Plan, Planning and Zoning Commission hereby recommends that to the mayor and council that the proposed plan is in conformity with the comprehensive plan. And I did change some of the language there as I went through, but that would be the spirit of the motion. Thank you much.
All right, commissioners, is this technically we would entertain, we'd close public hearing? I don't know, we didn't have people signed up. Okay, all right. So commissioners, this would be time for us to deliberate. I guess my question, just to kind of, is there any area different than what was presented to us that we want to call out or add additional information to our potential recommendation to the council?
Chair, my thought is restaurants, but I think that's included as part of one of the options, so. Yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's just gonna, if it's just between a contract between staff and the market's gonna decide, then the market is generally always right. So I think that it seems fine. We're gonna trust the RFP process.
Other comments?
I agree.
All right.
I'm in agreement.
Same. So I would entertain a motion at this time.
I move to approve the comprehensive plan analysis as presented. Is that, or is it?
Mr. Waterman, will you would you throw out a potential motion?
Yeah, I'm happy to restate the motion. So it would be, as I understood it, the motion would be that you move that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend to the Caldwell City Council that the proposed Site A Caldwell Urban Renewal Plan aligns with the goals of the comprehensive plan of the City of Caldwell.
Thank you. Commissioner Larson, you can just say so moved if that's what you were intending.
So move to
Commissioner Larson,
previous
is there a
statement.
second?
Second.
Okay, second for Commissioner Whitbeck. We already had our discussion, so roll call, please.
Larson.
Yes.
Whitbeck.
Yes.
Zamora.
Yes.
Harmon.
Yes.
All right. So with that motion carries, and I think that's the last of our agenda, but let me get to the top of my screen. All right, so that ends new business. All right, so with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Commissioner, I think it was Commissioner Larson. Commissioner Whitbeck, was that a second?
Yep, second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.